You're not doing anything.
There's a bug on my leg.
A cat, maybe. Right?
Huh?
A cat, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Monkey, how'd you get here?
Test.
You good?
Who's gonna use it?
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Is this thing
Test.
live? Are we live? We could move that away from us just a little bit.
Hold me, Lord, shape me, Lord, make me according to your will, all anew. Hold me, Lord, shape me, Lord, make me according to your will, all anew. My thoughts according to your will, all anew. My words according to your will, all anew. My deeds according to your will. From the top. Make me according to your will, all anew. Mold me, Lord, shape me, Lord, make me according to your will, all anew. My thoughts according to your will, all anew. My words according to your will, all anew. My deeds according to your will, all anew. From the top, mold me, Lord, shape me, Lord, make me according to your will, all anew. Mold me, Lord, shape me, Lord, make me according to your will, all anew.
Yeah. Here's to opening and upward, to leaf and to sap, and to yourself, whose eyes smell of the sound of rain. And here's to silent, certainly mountains, and to snow, a disappearing poet of always, and to morning, and to morning's beautiful friend, twilight. And let must, or if, be damned, with whomever's afraid, down with ought, with because, with every brain which thinks it thinks, nor dares to feel, but up with joy, and up with laughing and playfulness.
So here's to opening and upward. I invite you as we enter into this time of worship to allow yourself to open, to leaf and to sap, to the mystery of God within you and surrounding you, to the love of the neighbor sitting next to you. And I invite you to open to your inquisitive mind, to allow your mind to be open today, to be willing to explore and be curious and to learn new things. So up with joy today, and up with laughter, and up with playfulness, and up with you. I invite all of you who are able to rise in body or in spirit, and we're going to sing our opening song. God it was who said to Abraham, pack your bags and travel on. God it was who said to Sarah, smile and say, you'll bear a son. Traveling folk and aged mothers, wondering where they thought they'd done. This is how you call your people losing all because of one. God it was who said to Moses, save my people, part the sea. God it was who said to Miriam, sing and dance to show you're free. Shepherds, saints, and tambourines, doing what God knew they could. This is how you call your people losing all because of one. God it was who said to Joseph, down your tools and take your wife. God it was who said to Mary, in your womb I'll start my life. Carpenter and country maiden, leaving town and trade and skill. This is how you call your people losing all through what you will. Christ it was who said to Matthew, leave your books and follow me. Christ it was who said to Martha, listen first, then make the tea. Civil servants and housekeepers, changing places at a cost. This is how Christ calls disciples, finding those he knew were lost. In this crowd of common people, once unknown, whom we revere, God who called to share your purpose, starting now and starting here. So we celebrate your calling, so we prize and praise your choice. Now we pray that in this colony you will act and raise your voice.
Yeah.
So as we enter into our gathering prayers, I invite you to become aware of the chair that's supporting you. Feel your skin against the back of the chair, and feel your breath moving in and out. Pay attention to the present moment. Just take a few breaths. And pay attention to the presence of Spirit within you, surrounding you, next to you, breathing you, moving in and out. And the presence of Spirit in this place, to the east and the west, the north and the south, above us, below us, and within us. revive us from death. Come, O healer, hear our crying. Come, O Spirit, come. As we bless the East, come, O light, illuminate my mind. Encourage my sense of curiosity and sense of wonder. Fill me with amazement at the infinite diversity of your creation. May I see you in every grasshopper, every daffodil, and every star at night. Mold me, God, my thoughts according to your will, all anew. As we awaken to God in the south, come, O life, revive in me a commitment to justice. Like the sun that provides ceaseless energy that sustains our small blue planet, be the energy that lifts me beyond complacency and paralysis into a life of compassion and service. Shape me, Spirit. May I speak compassionately on behalf of your creation and the creation of your kingdom. My words according to your will, all anew. God is present in the west. Come, O healer, renew me. Offer me healing and hope, and restore me to wholeness, so that I might offer my heart to envelop your people and envelop all who suffer and embrace them. Empower me to work passionately on behalf of our planet and for its healing, in order to provide a future for all life forms that are threatened during this time. Mold me, God, my deeds according to your will, all anew. And God, present in the south, come, O Spirit, surround me and fill me with your presence, that I might be filled to overflowing with your love. Make me an embodiment of your grace. Use me as a messenger of peace for the whole human family, for the animal kingdom, for rocks and trees, for all plants and sea life. Come, O light, O life, O healer, O Spirit, make me according to your will, all anew. Come, O light, illumine our darkness. Come, O light, revive us from death. Come, O healer, hear our crying. Come, O Spirit, come. And let us unite our voices as one as we pray together these words. God of gift and promise, you number the stars and count the hairs on our head. How? You blow through the leaves and dance in the trees. Where? You whisper of grace and shout of justice. When? You ignite our dreams and soften our hearts. Who? For all the answers we seek, you give us yourself. Why? Amen.
From Exodus comes this story. Now one day, when Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law Jethro the priest of Midian, he guided the flock far away from its usual pastures to the other side of the desert, and came to a place known as Horeb, where the mountain of God stood. There, the special messenger of the Eternal appeared to Moses in a fiery blaze from within the bush. Moses looked again at the bush and as it blazed, but to his amazement, the bush did not burn up in flames. Now Moses said, "Why is this bush not burning up? I need to move a little closer to get a better look at this amazing sight." When the Eternal One saw Moses approaching the burning bush to observe more closely, a voice called out to him from within the bush. This is the word of God for the people of God.
And each one of you is an embodiment fully of God's word within you. And in that spirit, I invite you to stand as you're able and to greet one another, offer one another signs of welcome and signs of peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Paid your taxes?
Yeah.
They're not after you downtown, the other ones.
No.
That's all it's- So, come walk with us. We? Oh, sorry. You're trying to stall me.
Come walk with us, the journey is long. 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 The journey, the journey, 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 the journey is long. Come walk with us, 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 the journey is long. The journey, the journey, the journey is long. The journey, the journey, the journey is long. The journey, the journey, the journey is long. The journey, the journey. journey is long. Come walk with us, the journey is long. Come walk with us, the journey is long. The journey is long. The journey is long. The journey is long. The journey is long.
Okay. Yep. My first act of curiosity is trying to turn the darn thing on. Move to the next slide. Okay, hold it up close to my mouth, and we're in like Flynn. Can you imagine yourself being out there with the sheep and seeing this burning bush? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd go up and look at it. Wouldn't you check it out? I sure would. And then, when you hear a voice coming out of the bush, wouldn't you sort of jump back and say, whoa, am I crazy? And then the voice tells you that this is sacred ground and you should take your sandals off. My. And then tells you should lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Holy cow. Wouldn't you say, God, what do you want me to do? This? Well, Moses' curiosity led him to check out the burning bush, and then he accepted God's invitation to be faithful. So what's curiosity anyway? Why don't you take a minute and talk to your companion next to you and tell each other what you think curiosity is. So let's stop and refocus. Will you call out what some of you think curiosity is? Just popcorn. Asking questions. Did you say the same thing? Did you say the same thing, Sue? More questions than answers? What else? Taking in information. Anything else? Wonder. Anything else? Accepting. Anybody else? Inspiration. Well, what? A strive to know more. Well, being a psychologist, I had to look up to what psychologists say about curiosity. So, they say that curiosity is a survival impulse. It's what we do, we humans do, to survive in the world, to solve the problems that come up. And I think this is really interesting. Curiosity is associated with caring and social relationships, because as you're curious about somebody else, you're learning who they are and also building survival in a community. Studies also show that curious people experience more satisfaction and meaning in their lives because they seek out new ideas and new experiences. They never get bored. And curiosity leads people to experience awe and wonder and what God is calling them to do. Maggie? Can our curiosity lead us to discover God's purpose for our life? Absolutely.
Actually, many times, I have experienced God inviting me to do something through my curiosity. But it's been after I did it that I realized that was God nudging me. Adopting our daughter, Felicia, was the most profound, curious-driven, God-directed change that we ever had in our life. Some of you know the story and some of you don't, so I'll tell it to you very briefly. She was 8 years old when we adopted her. She was a child of the Craven family, who were longtime members of this church. We adopted her at 8 years old, and it was difficult, to say the least. But now she's 42, and we are close, and it has been an absolute blessing. This was taken on the day that we created a ceremony here at Hennepin where all the people who were supportive of Felicia gave her flowers to symbolize that they're continuing support of her in building the community. A couple of other things I want to use as examples. A long time ago, I was the first director of the YWCA Children's Center. And how I got to do this is that I wanted to do something new, start a new program. And at that time, the Y was an old Barney building downtown, and they were eventually going to tear it down and build a new building. So we couldn't do anything in it for the preschool that was permanent. And the only space was a big Barney gymnasium. Now, if you have never been with little kids, you know that if you have a big Barney gymnasium, what are they going to do? Run. So I found this guy who was interested in designing preschool spaces, and he and I together in our conversations designed, and we had volunteers built movable equipment that could be taken from that Barney space and into a new space when it moved out of the building and be usable. So that was one part of it. And then I also set up things I'd never done before, a drop-in child care, a parent education program, and as well as the preschool. So that was my first experience actually as an adult, really doing something that I sort of thought I could do, but I wasn't really sure that I could do. But it was curiosity that led me to do that. And then I want to tell you just a brief about something else you probably don't know, or maybe you do. About, long time ago, the church school was pretty tired. It had tables, and kids sat around tables, and they passed a book around and read the Sunday school lesson for the day. It was not very interesting. So because of this Y experience, I talked the church into building preschool rooms, not preschool, all rooms, so that they were learning centers instead of sitting and just listening. And with the help of probably 40 parents, they built the equipment in the rooms so that they could be active learning. Now, had I ever done that before? No. Was I curious? Yes. Did I seek help? Yes. So, and then the last thing I would just briefly say is when I took on the development of the Dignity Center, nobody in the downtown churches were helping people get back on their feet yet. They were just providing for people's immediate needs. And I thought, why are we just providing for people's immediate needs when these people need to be self-sufficient? And so we developed a program that did that. So what's the root of my curiosity? Next slide. Margaret is. Margaret is my mother, and Margaret was the epitome of curiosity. She often asked open-ended questions like, where do you think this path goes? or let's take a different road to get to wherever we were going. She often would see things that she wanted to make, like dresses. That was her thing. And she'd see them in the window, and then she'd come home and put together some dress patterns and make a new dress. And I think about her in her elder years after my dad had died, and she said to me, I don't know what God wants me to do with my life. Now, what do I have? Well, she figured it out. She opened up her home to people who were organ transplants at the University of Pittsburgh, and the family stayed in her house. It was a whole program. It wasn't just her. But she received a lot of satisfaction from doing that. From my mother's model of encouragement, I've always been attracted to doing projects that required learning new things and a bit of social risk-taking. So, I want to move to telling you how I got involved in the Biwala project. The person on the right is Patricia Flowers, and I was her sponsor when she was a refugee from Liberia, now on about 25 years ago. And she lived with us our senior year in high school, so I got to know her really well. And she said to me about a year and a half ago, I want you to go with me to Sierra Leone. I really want to go back. I know I can't go back to Liberia, but I want to go to Sierra Leone. Won't you go? And I sort of hesitated. And then my husband said, yeah, I think you should go. That would be a good way of encouraging her to do this kind of work. So I went. I didn't exactly know what I was getting myself into, but I went. Now, Freetown is where you land the plane, but Biwala is right about here. It's in between Kenema and Cologne, right, really about 3 miles from the Liberian border. If you want to find a remote place, that's it. It requires about 8 or 9 hours to get there by car, and then the last 40 miles maybe is dirt, rutted roads. So this is a group of people that we went to the first time I went in December of 2017. There are 8 of us, and our main goal was to work on the secondary school, which is now complete. The second purpose was to find a suitable new mission project for Hennepin people to get involved with. Now, Pastor Judith told us that there are lots of kids in her town that couldn't go to school because their parents didn't have enough money to pay school fees. Now, I'm not talking tuition, I'm talking school fees, personal expenses for things like uniforms and shoes and backpacks and school supplies. So the group thought, yeah, that's something we can do. And I, in particular, said, I know that's something we can do. While there, Pastor Judith told us her personal story. And she talked about the education that she got in Biwala was limited. Sometimes she only had 1 meal every other day, and she said she would faint. But at the age of 12, her sister took her to Bo, a larger town, and enrolled her in a secondary school. And while she was in the secondary school, which was run by Methodist missionaries, she met a whole bunch of people that were really nice to her. And she had a bed to sleep in, and clean sheets, and 3 meals a day, and good teaching. And she thought, why are these people doing this? And then she thought a little bit more. Maybe it's because of the God they talk about. I want to know that God. And so she started her own personal journey getting to know God. But her grades improved with good teaching and attention, and Significantly, at age 14, she made a promise to herself that she was going to build a school one day in Biwala, and the school is now complete. The second thing that really encouraged me in my trip to Biwala was seeing the faces of these kids. They were so joyous, and they had hardly anything to play with, but they made do with what they had. And we took balloons, and Anita encouraged them to stack rocks, which they did with great glee. The picture on the right is a first grade classroom that had 134 kids in it. And that was part of the overcrowding of the schools. So we decided to start Project Biwala to encourage people to sponsor kids to go to school. And I got to tell you, that is really important to these families. It cannot be emphasized how much. And you have the opportunity to sponsor a kid today and next week and the week after, or anytime you want to, actually. You can go online. So we met with the kids and the families in Biwala the second time I went, and it was astounding. It turned into a happening. The families came, the chief came, and they empowered themselves, and one of the kids empowered himself to say thank you to us. You'll see a picture of him a little bit later. He's Anita's sponsored child. It was amazing. So we sponsored 120 kids last year with a fee of $150, thus enabling them to go to school. Then another thing happened. Pastor Judith came here last September, and she stayed with me for 2 weeks. You know, you get to know somebody pretty well in 2 weeks. And we became really pretty good friends, and we talked a lot about education in Sierra Leone. And she asked me over and over and over again, will you help me get this school open in Sierra Leone? I had told her that I had started the YWCA Children's Center, and she thought that was good enough to help start a secondary school. And I said, yeah, I would. You know, curiosity teaches me or leads me to take on challenges. So I made a decision to help Pastor Judith and this guy. This is Amara Fumba, whom she hired to be the new principal. And the school, which got completed in 1 year. When we were there the first time, only half of it was up. And between that time in December and when I went the next year in March, it was totally completed. Why? It's because the people in the community put the steam on and finished it. So, the purpose of the second trip was to plan the school. We also played a lot with the kids as well, especially Cheryl. We visited 7 schools in Sierra Leone to get the lay of the land and see what was available. Well, I gotta tell you, schools are not too impressive in Sierra Leone. They need a significant amount of help. They're underfunded and they're overcrowded. And there are not enough trained teachers. About 50% of the teachers in the schools are trained. The facilities are quite shabby and very poorly maintained. And kids do not have textbooks. The teachers have textbooks, but there's not enough textbooks for each kid to have his own. And there's nearly non-existent computer education, which is something they want really a lot. Next one. So here's Moma. This is Anita's kid. He wouldn't be able to go to high school because there isn't one in Biwala until now. He will be able to go there next year. He's the smartest kid in the school. He told Anita he wants to come to the U.S. and become a doctor. We want to make it happen if we can. So I want to show you some pictures of typical schools in Sierra Leone. This is a first grade classroom with 134 kids. Do you notice that there's no desks? They just have benches to sit on. There's no teaching materials. You just hold your book on your lap and write in it. Next one. As I said, the schools are not very well maintained. Excuse me, Donna. And here's somebody repairing the roof in one of the schools. Actually, the school in Hennepin, which is a United Methodist school, by the way. This is a typical high school library. The books are not used because they don't know how to use them, but there's not enough of interesting, but these are just a hodgepodge assortment of stuff. And corporal punishment is used a lot in Sierra Leone schools. The teachers just carry a stick around, whap you if you're out of line. But Judith and Fumba made a promise to us that in the Baiwala Secondary School, there would be no corporal punishment. So one of the things that has gotten me interested is sending to Fumba information about how you create a new way of disciplining kids when the old expectation is through hitting kids. So that's one of the kicks that I've gotten from my curiosity. This is a secondary school in Hennepin. It has 2 sessions a day, 1,200 each. So that means that a kid gets to go to school for 2.5 hours, cutting down the day from 4 to 2.5 just to get all the kids in. So what's that give you, a half a high school education? Pastor Judith, in our conversations, and Amara Fumba want this school to be a model school. They're determined that it's going to be different than other schools in Sierra Leone. And so we plan for it. We are planning for it to be different, to have computer labs and a farm that supports the school and a science lab and qualified teachers. There he is, all ready to go. Actually, he's starting next week to teach summer school to get the kids hopefully up to speed so that they can enter in grade level in September. They want to have pleasant rooms. Doesn't have any furniture in it, but it will. This is the auditorium, which they've been using about 4 months now for the church. But it enables, most schools don't have auditoriums. This means this school can show movies and have plays and talks, and they already have done it. That will become a community center for the community. This may look like a bunch of people digging, but it's important to know that it is the townspeople that spent a week, and probably 80 people over a period of week, creating the soccer field for the school. Now remember, if you live on $1.50 a day or $2 a day, you don't have much money to give to the startup costs, but you can spend your time making a soccer field. They're going to have desks that open up where you can keep your stuff in it. And a computer lab. Oh, do I wish that some company would donate 30 computers. If you know of any company that would be willing to do that, we'd take them. These goals can be realized because of 2 factors. 1, Judith's track record, and 2, OC Ministries. But Judith has a very good track record. She has She has started an adult literacy program in her living room to teach the people in Baiwala, the adults in Baiwala, how to read. 75% of them don't know how to read. She started a school feeding program that now is up to feeding 900 kids a day. That's the elementary school in the town. She's coordinated the building of the new secondary school, and she's purchased 25 acres of land adjacent to the school to start a farm that will, number one, teach the kids about farming, but also supply cash to keep the school going. She's built a mission house with 5 rooms so that people can come and visit and get engaged with the various projects. And finally, she's had a well installed. This in 5 years. This woman has passion and drive, and she's, from my point of view, I want to support that kind of energy. The other part of it is OC Ministries. OC Ministries really wouldn't be as robust as it is without Lindy Zabel's energy. You know who he's related to? He's the heart of OC Ministries. In Minnesota, the OC Ministries is in 4 countries right now. But over 30 years, OC Ministries has been in 7 countries and done 50 projects and raised $1 million, all with 100% volunteer labor. Now, why do people do that? It's because they get excited about when they go to places like Sierra Leone, and they see how the contrast between what we do here, and when they return home, they want to keep helping.
What does OC stand for?
It started out standing for Operation Classroom, but now the C part stands for all the development kind of projects it does, like crops and classrooms and curriculum and clinics and that kind of thing. Thank you for asking. So, what has motivated me? Curiosity, for sure, has motivated me to do the development work on the school and raising the startup costs to get the school open. But more than that is the knowing that this school will change thousands of lives. I mean, when you bring in consultants to help them develop the farm, or you have computers, it spreads out all over everybody. Then the other thing is seeing the potential in the eyes of the kids, and also knowing Judith's track record. She gets stuff done. And also, I'm excited about putting people together and providing help to them. And I'll give you one small example. I got 2 agriculturalists together. One, a retired man who had an experimental farm in Zambia, and another man, his name is Mozart Avidu, and he lives in Ghana. And the 2 of them are going to work to help Judith get this farm planned and developed. Oh, that was so fun to do. And then my involvement with OC Ministries. So what can you do to tap into your curiosity and move yourself to action? Well, we talk about trusting in God, and really that is what it's about. It's in 2 ways. It's asking God through prayer, what do you want me to do? Or the other side of it is, what am I drawn to doing? And then I think taking baby steps. You don't have to jump in and do a big thing all at once. You just have to take 1 step. I think using the example of other people as motivation, like I did with Judith's story, and with my mother's story as well. And then finally talking to someone that you can trust to figure out, so what's next? Let your curiosity lead you to take a leap of faith, and it will take you places you never thought you'd go, leading you to do what we are called as Christians to do, to help the people on the margins of society.
So as we place our trust in God and turn our hearts to God, there may be prayers you have to offer. Prayers of joy or sorrow or concern. I invite you to be in prayer and to raise your hand if you have a prayer you'd like to share with the community.
I have a prayer of thanksgiving for this community. Since the beginning of June, I have been, in treatment for alcoholism out at Pride Institute. And I was able to come back today on a one-day pass, so to speak. I hope I can do it again, but I'll be out there until the end of August. But I know this community, and I have felt it in Eden Prairie, the love and support of this group. So I want to say thank you for that very much. And maybe even also ask for a prayer for all of us in treatment out of Pride. There are like 35 or 40 of us right now, that there might be healing, that, that the Creator might be out there with us. So just a prayer for that, and really thank you to all of you.
As a circle, let's gather that prayer into our heart and hold it there, bless it with our love, and then send it on its way to God.
I'm Kathleen. I'd like us to pray for my husband, Steve, who will be undergoing a second back surgery in August.
I'm Phyllis, and I ask you to pray for my friend Marge Sullivan, who fell on Thursday and broke her shoulder. And also pray for Megan's family. Megan attempted suicide, and she's in intensive care in the Fargo Hospital. And it has been determined that her brain is no longer functioning, and so all of her organs will be donated. Thank you.
I'd like prayers for my 18-year-old grandson who's leaving for the Army basic training on Tuesday, and prayers that he'll be fine because he's doing it in Georgia.
I'm Noelle. I'd like a prayer of protection and continued safety for Ilan Omar, the congresswoman who went back to where she came from, here.
Amen.
I'm gonna be long-winded again. I wanna thank Nate for doing the altar, and thank Katie for coming again. thank you, Nate and Katie, for coming. Goodbye.
I'm Jim. Our grandson is married to a student at the University of Minnesota Medical School, and she delivered a baby 10 weeks ago, and she just did her midterm exam and starts rotation next week for 2 more years. And she asked this week if she could have the baby baptized here at Hennepin. I asked Judy this morning, and she said, okay.
I think that we all took a special moment yesterday, if you were in touch with any media, to observe the 50th anniversary of the lunar landing and what that meant and how it represents an epitome of curiosity, God's gift to us, the inquiring mind.
Hi, I'm Tara. I haven't been here for a while, but I finally got up early enough to make it. I love a prayer for my father, Dr. George I. Fujimoto. He's 99. He's led an incredible life. He didn't have to go to the relocation, we call them concentration camps during World War II, like the rest of my family, because he was at Harvard. And then he went to Michigan and Caltech. He discovered a radioactive isotope synthesis that's named after him. And he's been a huge leader in New York in the civil rights movement, in the anti-war movement, always marching on Washington, and working with a small group of Jewish business people in Scarsdale, where I grew up, bringing Martin Luther King up to White Plains County Center to raise money for Martin Luther King. And now he's blind, and he's going completely deaf. And I got him into Helen Keller for a month, but my mother nixed it, unfortunately. She didn't realize what he would be up against, being blind and deaf. So I'm trying to get a leader dog for the blind for him. And I'm probably going to go out there at some point and try to see what I can do to help him. But he's very healthy, and he's learning slowly how to survive being blind and deaf.
Good morning. I'm Michelle. I'm very new to the group. I would like for you to pray for my son, Stephen Glass, for the hedge of protection. And we're also going to pray for the homeless people in Minnesota. Thank you.
I'm Joan. I have a cousin who, in Colorado, who is going to go through open heart surgery on Tuesday. So I would like prayers to guide the doctor's hands and for his family to keep up their strength through this operation.
And let's join our voices together as we pray. Spirit of wisdom, when we are not careful, it is easy for our curiosity to become impatience. When we are not loving, it is easy for our impatience to become injustice. When we are not mindful, it is easy for our injustice to become destruction. Help us to always be careful, loving, and mindful followers who contend your fire of love and share its warmth with all people. Amen.
It is a joy to be with you today as we share this holy meal together that we call communion. And so let us join together in the liturgy that is on the screen. Join with me. You are beyond the galaxies, under the oceans, and inside each grain of wheat. The vastness of the cosmos, the fragile earth, the air we breathe, the sounds we hear, the beauty and uniqueness of all life proclaim your indwelling spirit. Therefore, with all that is in around us and all that is within us, we marvel at your presence. Eternal Spirit, source of all that is and that shall be, loving God, in whom is heaven, the hallowing of your name echoes through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, strengthen us. From trials too great to endure, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you live in the glory of the power that is love, now and forever. When Jesus was with his friends in the upper room that night, he took the bread and he broke it. And he gave it to his disciples and he said, "Take and eat. This is my body, given for you." And so as we break bread together today, we're reminded that Jesus is in the room with us, offering us new life and new hope. And then he took the cup and he gave thanks to God and he gave it to his disciples and he said, "Take and drink from this, all of you. This is the cup of salvation poured out for you and for many, so that you might know that you are a forgiven people, that we are freed from sin and from mistakes and from our brokenness, and that you have called us to be people of new creations." And so we come to this table not with sorrow, not with regret, but with hope and with joy. There will be 2 stations in the back, and you can go to those stations, and there will be gluten-free available here at the table. I ask that you would break off a piece of the bread and to dip it into the cup. The cup is filled with juice, so those who are in recovery, and aren't we all, we are all welcome at this table. In the United Methodist Church, all persons are welcome to come to this table because it is not my table. It is not Hennepin's table. It is the Lord's table, and all are welcome with a gracious spirit and with the love of Christ. Come now. Bring your offerings forward. There's a heart-shaped plate, and there is the bowl, and they are for outreach and for the ministries of this church. And so please come and give yourself as you give yourself back to God, who loved you first and loves you best.
Those who are serving, please come forward. We'll serve you first.
goodness of God, the blessings of God. I will sing God's praises all the days that I shall live. My soul will glory in my God. The lowly will hear and be glad. Oh, glorify God's name with me. Together let us rejoice. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see that God is good. How happy the ones who find peace. The mighty shall grow weak and fall, while those who seek God will lack nothing. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. For God is close to broken hearts, the suffering and those who weep. The hand of God redeems your life, a refuge for all who seek. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Oh, taste and see the goodness of God, the blessings of God. Taste and see. Blessings of God.
Come to that time in our service where we celebrate the good news that you have to share. So any of you who have a birthday around this time or other good news to share, I invite you to come to the center of the circle and share your good news with the community for a blessing.
This coming Wednesday is my birthday, and on Saturday would be our anniversary, and I'm going out to New York to see my family. So,
on August 9th, I'm going to take a big leap of faith, and I'll be performing for the first time, singing at the Uptown VFW, and it's because I always thought I had an ordinary voice, and a voice coach told me, who's a good friend of mine, she said, no, you don't have a good voice, you have a great voice. So here's a little sample. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden bow and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and torn. Walk on with love in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Stay here, stay here, stay here, stay here. In fact, we never do walk alone, but let's bless these folks, their voices and their birthdays. The words are, God grant you many years. 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 There are many ways to be involved in the life and the work of the community this week. There's a fantastic cello concert this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Some of us were at it last Monday night. This is the International Cello Series. Here's like world-class cello playing. If you want to be in this space, you want to be here at 3 o'clock today. National Night Out at Hennepin is August 6th coming up. There's a display and a place to sign up to be involved in that down in Carlson Hall, as there is for Project Baiwala, and I think back here too as well, a display and a place to get more information. So thanks, and thank you to Anne, and thanks for all of the people. It takes a lot of hands to put this together. Maggie back here, Mary Louise. If you're wondering about, you're curious about this table, Dr. Nate, Doctor of Worship Tableology, has put this together. First attempt, and oh my goodness, was that something. Thanks to Debbie and Bob for singing, and anybody else that I forgot. Other announcements. Let's stand and sing our way out into God's world this week. God bless Africa, guard her children, guide her leaders, give her peace. God bless Africa, God bless Africa, guard her children, guard and give her peace. And all God's people together said, Amen. Women, children, animals, creation.